Welcome to our class. In the following few classes, we will learn about the Messiah. And I don't need to emphasize to you how important and awesome the subject is. It has actually affected tremendously the history of mankind, like no other idea. The idea of Messiah has propelled human history like no other idea. So when we talk about the Messiah, we need to be very careful. We need to treat the subject very delicately and being attentive to aspiration and ideas of many people about it, and to be actually faithful to the sources of the idea, where it comes from, in order to understand what we are talking about. Otherwise, we get lost. So, as you see here from the topic, there are basically two types of Messiah that we like to talk about. One is the rabbinical idea, what you can say, Halachic posture towards the Messiah, which is abiding any Jew, any person on earth, if you want. That's the rabbinical approach. And as opposed to the mystical approach, which is mostly based on mysticism and Kabbalah and so on. So what is the essence, in short, the difference between the two? The rabbinical Messiah, or the rabbinical view of the Messiah, is based on the Torah itself, on the 5 books of Moses, and on the prophet, like Isaiah and others. And also, it is recorded or encoded in our halachic law, in our prayer, daily prayer. So the daily prayer that we recite twice a day, the Amida prayer, tell you about the Messiah on the rabbinical aspect. Nothing there about the mystical Messiah. And the mystical Messiah is fascinating. It's based on Kabbalah, another mystical world, but it's not abiding. Another difference, important difference, is that the rabbinical Messiah is expected to come within our universe, in our time. There's no change in nature. There's no calamities around this coming. And he will come at the end of a precise natural steps that we need to take to see him coming. I know that sounds weird to people who come from another religion, and they are used to the mystical Messiah, the Messiah that sits in heaven close to God, and he will descend on us. The rabbinical Messiah is not like this. He's expected to come at the end of certain stages. We need to lay down for him to come. And I will explain it to you. Once those stages are fulfilled, set up, then we'll recognize the Messiah, as opposed to the mythical Messiah that come out and start the whole process on its own. So nobody can come, according to the rabbinical view, nobody can come out of the moon, blue sky, and say suddenly, "Oh, I am a Messiah, follow me." We turn to him and say, "Okay, where are the stages?" First, we need to see the stages, that the steps that should be taken before you come in, and then we recognize you. Like we like to see you, we see our redemption from the hand of the Gentiles, like from the hand of Pharaoh, before we recognize the Messiah. You cannot come while we are still under oppression and claim that you are Messiah. There is no such thing. So Messiah come at the end of the process that we lay down for him. He will only finish it. And also after he comes, we expect no change in nature. The nature will continue to function after the Messiah coming, as it is now, with only one difference, that the Jewish people will be redeemed from the yoke of a pagan ruler. That's part of the necessary step. We'll talk about the steps, but this is one of them. So, whereas the mystical Messiah can come down at any time. So there are many other differences, but let's start our class and let's start talking about the difference between the two messiahs, and we'll first identify or clarify who the rabbinical Messiah is. This diagram, for instance, you see on top the rabbinical Messiah will come at any time. We live on the sixth day. The line designates the sixth day as we move to the Sabbath. And the rabbinical Messiah comes anytime to lead us forward. Whereas the mystical Messiah down in red, he comes close to the end of time event. So when people imagine him coming down, it's always associated with some unnatural event like war, calamities, end of time event. It's the mystical Messiah down there, attached to the end of day judgment, whereas rabbinical Messiah can come during the sixth day that we live in, and he can come at any time. Few words about what happened in history. The rabbinical vision has not changed. So over the last 2,500 years, because it was encoded in Halacha in Ezra time, long ago, the year 510 BC. So to about 2,500 years, it has not changed. And it's encoded in our daily prayer book. It was written down, the prayer was written down in Ezra time, and the prayer lays down the stages that we have to do before we see the Messiah. That's a rabbinical posture. in a daily prayer. And it has no change. Opposite of that is a mystical Messiah that was introduced to Judaism quite late, Byzantine time, medieval time, under the oppression, and it was very bad time for the Jews. So they believed in that the Messiah will come from heaven to start the process. They want quick redemption. So the Kabbalah and all these mystical works that been published and written those days are quite late. And in fact, the mythical Messiah was so fascinating that it captured the imagination of the Jewish masses and the rabbis. And it was the prevailing idea of the Messiah for many, many years in Jewish circles. And it brought a whole line of false messiahs with a series of disappointment, tragedies, until it was finally stopped at the end of 18th century, about, because of a major disaster. And since then, it fell out of favor. It's almost a ban on teaching the mystical Messiah in public anymore. All the calculation of his coming, there are many fancy calculations of his coming, based on gematriot and distortion of the verses and so on. All these calculations have been banned from the public. We don't even teach them anymore in any yeshiva. Whereas the old rabbinical aspect of view has become the mainstay of Judaism. So you need to be aware of it. As a Ben Noach, if you come to a synagogue, to a rabbi, and you say, okay, let me talk about the Messiah, and I have with me beautiful calculations telling me that tomorrow morning or next month on Tuesday, the Messiah come. I'll show you. I have a clear, beautiful hint gematriot, and I give you a whole chart of a calculation to show you that I'm right. The rabbi opened the door and show you the way out. So be careful. So let us talk now about the focus on the rabbinical Messiah, which I will call from now on the Bilaam Messiah. As you recall, Bilaam was hired by the Moabite king to curse Israel as they were going to cross the Jordan River to the Holy Land. I'm sorry if there was earlier some interruption. I'm sorry about it. So King Balak, the Moabite, had three classical accusations against the Israelite. He objected them to be here and to enter the land of Israel. Three classical accusations that actually served anti-Semites for years. First of all, he said, these people claim to be Israel, they are not. They are not the descendant of the patriarch. They have been in Egypt for hundreds of years. The women probably were molested by the owner, by the masters. They are not a real genetic descendant of of the patriarch, and they have no claim, they have no reason to base for the claim to be a real Israelite. Secondly, they are not, they claim to have a good faith in God. They worship the golden calf. They made Moses' life bitter. The hard-necked people, they have no real faith. They claim that, I heard a Muslim claiming about the Jews even today. They despise the Jews because Jeremiah and Amos spoke against the Jews. So the Jews are bad people forever. And that's what he was claiming. They have no real faith. Thirdly, look at these people there. They pretend to be civilized people. They have flag, structure there, but it's all fake. In reality, they are wild, like oxen. All they want is to eat and consume the area around me, like he says, like wild oxen consuming the field. They are not civilized people. They are not part of the civilized nation. Come over and curse them for me, so I don't want to be here and to enter the Holy Land. These are the classical Balak accusation against Israel. He asked Bilaam to come and find a blemish in Israel, support his claim, curse them, so that Hashem will despise them and drive them away from here. So they have no business to be here. Let them go back to where they came from. Yeah, you hear that today against the Jews in Israel. Let them go back to Europe. Okay, it's the same idea. Now, Bilaam was a prophet. Could be that he knew the truth, but for a house full of gold and silver, he would curse anyone. So he came down. Besides, he didn't like the Jews anyhow. So when he came down, and here is the story, that Hashem told him, okay, you cannot say any word other than the word that I put in your mouth. You will speak out only the word that I put in your mouth, like the she-donkey before you. She spoke only the word that Hashem put in her mouth. So will you behave. So your lips will say anything, nothing else than what I put in your mouth. So the prophecy that come out from your mouth is valid. In your heart, I cannot change. In your heart, you are free to curse them, to find a blemish, whatever you want. I will not interrupt you in your heart. So here is a situation where the prophet speak out praises, while his heart trying to curse Israel, so he can get the house full of money. So he in his heart is looking away to destroy them. He sees David, he sees the Messiah, but in his heart he wants to destroy them, or to prevent them from coming. That makes the story interesting. Now, if you remember the story there, King Balak take the Bilaam to 3 levels. Why 3? Because from each level, he addressed one of the accusations about the origin, about the faith, which he claimed to be corrupt, and the society, which he claimed to be corrupt, in disorganized society. 3 levels. Like he compared it to a tree with a root. The root presents the sources, the root of the tree, where they come from. The trunk of the tree is the faith, Do they believe in God or not? That's accusation number 2. And the society is that canopy of the tree develop, that the tree develop. So he's going to examine the tree of Israel as it describes it and find a blemish in it. And that he opened up a beautiful, beautiful poetry that needs a lot of input from the oral Torah to explain you every word, but that's the case of a poetry. Poetry needs to be understood by the right authority. Otherwise, you will not understand it. So that's the nature of poetry. Beautiful, one of the best poetry in the Torah. Beautiful word in Hebrew, of course. So standing on level 1, you examine the root, the sexual behavior. Are they really connected to the patriarch? And he turned to the king and he says, yes, look, they are the true Israel. Why? I see how they behave sexually between themselves. The male and female, they get married virgin, and the family life is pure. The women are not molested by the masters. They didn't allow it to happen. And they are the real descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Forget about your claim that they are not real Jews. So that's level number 1, the root. Then you turn to the stock, to the faith. Do they believe in God? And it's a beautiful section. You hear the shofar blowing, Rosh Hashanah, and the kingship of God. And he turned to Balak and says, look, no chance. They are the true believer in God. It's very hard to pursue them or to influence them to believe anything else. They believe in God. The trunk of the tree is very strong. Then he go to the canopy of the society, and he sees a beautiful society full of not only the tent of Torah, modesty, and he wants to see what are the fruit of this tree, and he has blank. He cannot see it. So he understood the fruit, so something special about the fruit. So the prophet, he tells the story to King Balak, but then he thinks to himself, what's so special about the fruit that I cannot see now? So he look in his prophecy, he get a talent to look what happened to the tree as it's being planted on the land of Israel. So the tree is going to be planted in the land of Israel to produce the fruit that he right now not see. And the tree of Israel is going to be planted in Joshua, by Joshua, as described in the book of Joshua. And it's going to be planted very well in the land. It's a necessary step for the fruits to grow. You need good seed, and you get good ground, and the roots will find themselves in the ground. Then you look at the stalk of the tree, the faith, which is described in the book of Judges, which follows in order the book of Joshua. And the book of Judges describe you the faith of Israel as Israel society developed in the land of Israel. And as it described in the book of Judges, it's a peaceful society between the Jews and themselves, and full of Torah law. And the judges stands for Torah judges, Sanhedrin. So there's the oral Torah and written Torah. As already mentioned, if there was no oral Torah, David would not be allowed, considered a Jew. So you see that stage. In his mouth, he blessed Israel. In his heart, he was looking for a day to stop it. Yeah, he can advise Balak to destroy the Jews, or to lure the boys to cohabit with the Moabite girls. By this, it will disconnect the root. He will try to allure them to worship the Peror, as they did, for a short time, but not a real change. But he wants to see to if he can destroy the canopy and the fruit, but right now he's not seeing the fruit. As he climb up in his prophecy, looking at the future, he come to the stage where he see the canopy, Israel society being built in the land of Israel. And you see book of Samuel, and you see the Jewish community, and you see David for the first time. But what a difference. Until now, he could see only things that can happen or not happen. You can stop them from happening. But when he saw David, he saw a clear picture. As he himself says in a verse, I think it's 24:4, he suddenly see clear pictures when he come to that stage. Picture of David and picture of the son of David down the road. Now, what's the difference? When you see picture, when a prophet see picture, it means it happened. It will happen. You see the reality happening. Cannot stop it. Nobody can stop it. Because if it stopped, he is not a real prophet. I'll give you an example. When Jeremiah prophesies to the Jews, he says, look, if you behave this and this, the temple will be destroyed. If you repent, the temple would not be destroyed. So nobody can say that he saw the temple destroyed, picture of it. He only saw the option of being destroyed. Had he been seen the picture, it means it's going to happen, regardless. So real prophecy leave you the option if it's going to happen or not happen. Whereas to act like a seer, S-E-E-R, with a vision, with a picture, it means that you see something that must happen. And Bilaam himself says here in I can see now in one verse, he mentioned two visions. He mentioned the vision of David, and he mentioned the image of the son of David, whom he called the star of Jacob, the Messiah, King. Those two, you see in clear picture, they must happen. No way, nobody can stop it from happening. Now, where is it in the verse? The Maimonides actually sum it up, and I'll read it to you. I'll read it to you. He said, the Messiah King will step up and to restore, I read it to earlier, to restore the kingship of David, and his first coming was prophesied in the Torah by Bilaam and by all the prophets. Bilaam emphasized about the coming of two messiahs. The first one is David, who saved Israel from its enemies. And the second one is the last one, with the descendant of David, and he also will save Israel from his enemies. In the Torah, Bilaam, Maimonides continue. In the Torah, Bilaam says, I see him at not now, that is David. I envision him and it is not near, this is the Messiah King. A star shall rise from Jacob, that is David, and a scepter from Israel, the Messiah King. And he will smite out the outskirts of Moab, David. He smote the Shet, son of Sheth. This is Messiah King. Edom will be conquered. This is David. Edom will be possessed. A mountain of Edom will be possessed. This is Messiah King. As it says, he quotes, and all the Savior will step up on Mount Zion to judge the mountain of Esau. So that's the Messiah King. So here, Rambam Maimonides recognizes two messiahs, David and the son of David, or David descended. Let's make the following observation. According to Bilaam then, David always come before the Messiah, which means even we restore, whenever we want to restore, if Israel is going on exile, and we want to plant the tree of Israel again in the land, and to see the Messiah, we need first to see David, kingship, and out of David's kingship, we will see the Messiah. Again, the Messiah cannot come from heaven, according to that view of Bilaam, and claim, follow me, I am the Messiah. Where is the kingship of David? First, restore kingship of David to his greatness, and do all the steps of kingship David. Then and build a temple, and do all the necessary steps, and we recognize you as a Messiah. You're not expecting any unnatural event here. That's the rabbinical view. So what is it? Why do I need the two of them? Why then I need David and then I need the son of David? If I say that always David comes first, why then I need the Messiah? And Bilaam himself talked about it. And according to Bilaam, David will take care of Israel, consolidate Israel kingship to the Torah, and he also fights the enemies, close enemy of Israel, like Edom, Moab, and so on. That's a function of David, and who is also called King, Messiah King. And then the son of David will come and turn his face out to the outside. He will look at humanity and teach humanity to go on to accept the seventh commandment and to know Hashem. That's the essence. That's what Bilaam is saying. How do I see it? When he talk about David, he talk about Moab. He turned to the king of Balak and he said, I'll tell you what this guy is going to do to your nation. And then when he talk about the Messiah, he talk about the children of Seth. Remember? The Seth, S-H-E-T-H, Seth. Seth was, as you remember, the beloved son of Adam and Eve. And he was the only one on whom the verse says that Seth was born to Adam and Eve, and he was born in the image and form of Adam. Very unique description. No other child of Adam got that title. Form and image of Adam. Now, Adam himself, of course, was born in the form and image of God. So Seth is the only child that is formed in the image of form of God. So he's the ideal Adam, son of is the ideal mankind. If you remember, when God created Adam and Eve, he had a picture of ideal Adam in his mind, and Adam that will be not just good but very good. Look at chapter 1, and that ideal Adam will see the end of. It will grow in history, and finally, this ideal Adam will stand the final day judgment to see if he continue into the Sabbath. So that fact present the ideal Adam who is born in the form and image of God, which means that form and image that God had on his mind, so to speak, when he made Adam, an ideal Adam. So Bilaam, in other words, saying the Messiah will lead mankind to be that kind of ideal Adam that God had in mind. He will fulfill the vision of the Torah that mankind will improve themselves and not remain an animal of evolution, but incorporate the value of Hashem that cannot be found in nature. All the values that are in the Torah of mercy, compassion, forgiveness, and so on, holiness. And Adam will change his animalistic nature and become ideal Adam, chef. Okay. So now, that explains what Bilaam is saying as why we need both David and the son of David. Even if David's kingship is restored or formed, it's good for the Israelite society. He will fight Moab, he will fight Amalek, he will fight the enemy of the Jews, so here. But the Messiah will lead mankind to the future. Is needed for that, to teach mankind, to lead them forward, to keep the 7th commandment, and to know Hashem. Okay, we'll go back to that point many times later. Now, before we proceed, at the end of the class, I want to devote some minutes to the meaning of the name of Messiah. We're talking here about a pure, genuine, rabbinical view of the Messiah. The words of Messiah comes from the Hebrew word limshoach, to smear, to anoint. And the Messiah king means the king whom the prophet poured oil from the temple on his head. Anointed him with the oil from the temple. What is this oil? Who made this oil? Traditionally, it was said that Moses himself, many years ago, prepared ample amount of olive oil, like this pure olive, and they kept it in the holy temple, in the tabernacle, for years. And it was used to smear or to anoint any new vessel in the temple. A golden menorah, a golden table, they smear it with the oil. And they also smeared the oil on a high priest. Any new high priest they put oil on his head. So he was a priest Messiah. And it was also used, it was used in a new king was elected. The prophet poured his oil, but oil was believed to change the nature of the king from regular person to endow him with some holiness. Not that he's become a superhuman. David didn't become a superhuman, but he endowed him with some talent and power and wisdom, okay, and some degree of holiness that allow him to rule Israel wisely. So that's the genuine meaning of the anointed king. King Saul before David were also anointed. So every king was anointed. A prophet was never anointed because the prophet already is so much endowed with holiness. So it's a joke. You cannot expect to put oil on Moses' head and to make him higher. Moses himself made the oil. So if somebody come and say that Moses could have been Messiah, it's not a rabbinical view. So there is a Messiah priest and there is a Messiah king. Now, having been anointed doesn't mean necessarily that you remain loyal to Judaism. All the kings from house of David for hundreds of years, all of them were anointed. All of them were Messiah king. One by one along the line. Most of them actually became wicked. Most of them, actually, many of them worship idols. So he was an anointed king, Messiah, who worship idols. Take the example, Isaiah's brother, down the line in 700 BC. So David was 1000 BC. This is 700 BC. 300 years, approximately 300 years of David house ruling. And Isaiah himself was from a king of the house of David. His brother Ahaz was a prevailing king. And as Isaiah described in chapter 1, chapter 2, he described the Messiah. Chapter 1, he described his brother, a real Messiah king who was functioning. Look what he's describing. He's describing a king that was not only idol worshiper, but he deceived the people by coining false money. He cheated the people, took advantage of the wicked one. Was a wicked person. So Isaiah rebuked him in harsh terms. Idol worshiper. This is his own brother, Messiah king. Not to say about Isaiah's own grandson, King Menashe, who grew up on the laps of Isaiah, learned Torah from him. It didn't help him. When he came to power, he worshipped the idol of Assyria, political connection, and he murdered Isaiah. What can you ask more than that? So Isaiah looked around in his family, and you see, all of them were Messiah king, and they were corrupt. So no wonder he says, wow, I see in his despair, see, oh, there is a future. Here is a maiden young lady from our family. She is pregnant now. She will give birth to a child who will become a real Messiah, a good king who will follow the Torah, and he will restore the name of David's house, which is still standing, is still functioning, ruling, but he will restore the dignity of it. And he will be Messiah, which is described in chapter 2. And in chapter 2, when you describe the Messiah, this wondrous child that is going to be born by this young lady, married lady, he will be in his time the house of Hashem will be exalted from all the houses, and all the nation will flock to Jerusalem to pray to Hashem and so on. His vision is exactly what Bilaam is saying, that the function of the Messiah is to affect mankind. And that's what Isaiah repeats in chapter 2, which they don't teach in the understanding the church. Nothing there about the Messiah coming from heaven or sitting by God or so, anything like that. Okay. So again, we talk about the Messiah, the notion of Messiah in rabbinical term as anointed king. Not necessarily endow him or guarantee that the king will remain loyal. And the prayer is, and the hope is that the kingship of David will remain loyal, and a son will come out from that loyal family, will turn to be such a devout person, restore the dignity of house of David, and he will turn around to the Lord will revere him. He was endowed with wisdom and talent because he will be anointed with the oil, and the people he will get a talent from Hashem that people will adore him and follow him and keep the 7 commandments. So far, we understand what the Bilaam is, prophecies about vision about the Messiah is, and it's encoded by the Rambam. The Rambam actually repeat those words. And before, I want to say one more thing. A beautiful thing that happened, a vision that Bilaam had. Let's go back to Bilaam. After he saw this whole picture, he opened his eyes and he can see who is this Messiah coming, where he is coming from. Where is the line of David? Where it come from? He's standing opposite King Balak, the arch enemy of Israel, who hired him to curse. But in his vision, you see that the Messiah or David came from Ruth, the Moabite, and Ruth actually is descendant of King Balak, who's standing in front of him. And King Balak, so he's astonished to see it. He starts laughing, and he lost his eye, making mockery. He thought, God, are you making a joke here? And he lost his eyes. Midrash said. He described at that point that he lost his eye. So that's a story. And he kind of mocked to God. That's what you're doing in history. You genetic. You cultivate people by genetics and environment. You make from Moab, from Balak, bring David. It's a genetic manipulation in society. So that's what you're doing in history. You call it El Shaddai. Shad is a breath. You nourish the word, the genes, according to your wish, that's what you're doing? So he laughed and he lost the eye. And then he continued what Balak himself came from, Moab, who was a son of Lot's incestual relationship with the father, abomination. She had an incestual relationship with the father. And she came from Sodom and Gomorrah, the opposite of Abraham and Abraham faith. So such a history, such a anti-Abraham, anti-faith history, abomination. Sodom and Gomorrah, if you remember, they were described as exceedingly evil to Hashem. That's Parashat Lech Lecha. Exceedingly evil to Hashem. So Rashi says they knew Hashem and they rebel against him. This special situation. They knew the Torah, they knew Hashem's demands from mankind. They did the opposite. And we spent time to describe how they did the opposite of the seventh commandment with mockery, with cruelty. They hosted guests, and then at night they came to see if the bed fit his body. It looks wonderful, sounds good. But if it stretch his body on the bed, if the legs are too long, they cut him with a oxen. If the legs were too short, they stretch him until he died. That's sodomite bed. They besieged Lot's home with the angel and said, "We want to know your guests. Send them out, we'll know them." It's a wonderful slogan. I want to know your guests. What they mean is sodomite act, sodomite action. What to torture the guests. So they did everything the opposite of the seventh commandment with laughter and mockery. Their laughter betrayed the fact that they knew Hashem. They knew what's supposed to do, but they did the opposite. So if the Nazis made the laughter, they stood with laughing at the victim at Auschwitz, that laughter betrayed the fact that they knew what they are doing. They knew what the Bible telling them, but they did the opposite on purpose in rebellion. So that's sodomite society, the opposite of Abraham, so much that Hashem says, no way. They cannot live together with Abraham. One of them has to be overturned on this planet. So he got rid of the Sodom, he overturned them. Apart from one little soul, there are where there is a small spark of holiness in her, because she slept with the father, but thinking she's going to save mankind. And that tiny spark grew up in generation, cultivated by God, turned out to be Balak, who had a little higher flame of faith in God. He offered prayer to God. He had a higher spark of holiness. And for Balak descendant, until Ruth. Ruth came from him with a huge flame of believing God, faithful to God. Ruth, grandmother of David, and then David. So when Bilaam see the whole line, you understand how Hashem moved, control history. And from Sodom and Gomorrah, who hated Abraham and did the opposite, will come the Messiah, will teach mankind to join Abraham and to keep the seventh commandment. That's beautiful vision, apart from one thing. And here is an important point. I leave you here with that. Suppose Messiah lead humanity believe in God, to know the seventh commandment. Sodom and Gomorrah also knew Hashem. They didn't lack any knowledge of Hashem. They didn't lack any knowledge of the seventh commandment. Had it helped them? They still rebelled against him. So think about it. Even the Messiah come and change humanity out. Okay. If the Messiah come and change humanity out towards God, does it guarantee that humanity will remain loyal? Like Sodom and Gomorrah. The same way that if you smear oil on a king's head, that it does not guarantee that they remain loyal. The same way if you teach mankind seventh commandment and the Torah, no one guarantee there is a free will. Mankind can go a while here to this direction or that direction. There is no guarantee that the Sodom and Gomorrah will not come back. God forbid. So there is a judgment after Messiah coming. There's still a road to go after the coming of the Messiah. Okay? Messiah is not the end of the story. Never. Until the final moment of judgment. I will read you this board of Zephaniah, the prophet Zephaniah. He says that the day is coming and Hashem will, for then I will overturn into the nation with a clear language. Overturn. So the word overturn is used hinting about Sodom and Gomorrah. So here is Zephaniah understanding that the Messiah will overturn the heart of Hashem, of the nation, toward Hashem. He will overturn their heart. But, as I just said, it's not a guarantee that the Messiah, I read it from Maimonides. If a king from David's house, so must be a David house standing, would stand and indulge himself in the Torah study, he would be a righteous boy. Here's a lady, and she's gonna give birth to Emmanuel. The young boy will be loyal. Or a king from David's house will stand and indulge himself in Torah study. He performs all the commandments like his father, follows in written and oral Torah, and forces Israel to walk in the way of the Torah. He's a king from the house of David, who is standing, but he's loyal, unlike other kings. And he fights the war of Hashem. He is assumed to be the Messiah. And if he be so successful that you also gathered all the Israel from the exiles, besides building the temples, Holy Temple is Messiah for sure. No words about rapture, mountain split, war. That's mystical Messiah. Nothing to do with the rabbinical Messiah that is encoded in our prayers, Amida prayer that I recite twice a day. Okay. Let me continue. Maimonides. And he, this Messiah, will correct the entire world to worship Hashem together. As it says, I shall overturn the nation to clear face. The Zephaniah, the word of Zephaniah, prophet we just mentioned, overturn the earth and call together all the name of Hashem and to serve him in oneness. That's a beautiful idea, but it's not a guarantee. Sodom and Gomorrah might return. And he continue the days of sum up everything we learn. And the days of the Messiah will be no different than our days, apart from Israel freedom, apart from the freedom from the hand of the pagan rulers. That's the only difference will be. Redemption of Israel from the hand of pagan rulers. Otherwise, the nature will continue. And he goes on to advise people not to indulge in a mystical Messiah, because this fancy Kabbalistic calculation are invalid. Each person has his own calculation. Each person point on a different date, and they're all wrong. Don't waste your time, he said. Instead of listening to what kind of Messiah is coming and what the rapid resurrection and all on, he was aware of it. His own brother was killed by in a messianic movement. His own brother of David, of Al-Rambam. So he was keen about, knowledgeable about the danger of mystical approach. And he says, don't waste your time. In fact, instead, focus on the Messiah wants from you. About understanding the commandment, keeping the commandment, learning Torah, see what idolatry is, see what adultery is, see what bloodshed is, learn about Noah, learn about the Rainbow Covenant. That's what you need to learn. Not if you have a Messiah, son of Joseph, all this mystical idea, that's fine, it's entertaining. But that's mystical and it's not abiding. If you have time for that, if you enjoy it, fine. But please develop the right approach. Don't take those things seriously. The only thing we take seriously is Bilaam, who was the Gentile prophet. A Gentile prophet who was forced to speak about a Messiah will change the Gentile world. That's what you need to remember. Not what happened to Israel, if there will be sacrifice on the temple and all these things. Nobody knows the answer. Nobody can answer you. And let Israel, let's say some lunatic to speak about it. That's what he's saying, the Rambam. We in Israel and everybody needs to focus on the Torah, on the commandment, in this world, to lay down the foundation for the Messiah to come. And what are the foundation? Bilaam, all the steps that Bilaam saw, settling the tree of Israel in the Holy Land, developing Torah community, and maybe we will see Messiah coming from there. But even the Messiah comes, the only thing will relate to the world is the commandment. 7 commandments, that's the only change. So keep the commandment right now. You don't need to wait for the Messiah to come. Thank you. And we'll continue about learning about the rabbinical few words on the Second Temple time. I want to say some words, and then we will switch to the mythical, fascinating, mystical Messiah. Thank you.